150 points into the thing. So 50 points for being a member of the Hackster Platform Hub, which is they've asked you to do, and they have a survey where they like you to take, and that survey and that link, and you take that survey. Survey is like a single pager or two pager or something. Get you another 100 points into this contest. I am not. I will probably tweet or twitch something out, tweet something out, and get another 50 points just because. Well, I'm going to do, but I'm not going to uh, uh, worry about building anything or doing stuff or view counting a crap because if I don't win, I don't win. If I do win, they are giving away basically that arm, and then they're going to give away some, which is they call it my cobot. They're going to give away 3 accessory kits for something and 6 mystery kits. And those kits, if you look at that my AGV, that's a combination of 2 different kits they offer. And there's an arm kit that's got 2 arms to it and a couple things. In the survey, they ask you what you're most wanting. So I don't know all that they will be doing or giving away or not, but they're not asking you pretty much for anything except an email address and get into Hackster.io, which you're probably already gone.
So are your chances of winning related to how many points you
Yeah, a point is a ticket. And
yeah.
So
I like this one because I think the expected return, the odds of winning are a lot higher than the Gazing Millions.
And it's a particular note of this. I didn't know who Elephant Robotics was, and so I learned a little bit about them. And now I have a chance to win one of their platforms, which, we come back to that idea. There's problems we want to solve and problems we have to solve. And the have to solve problems usually get in the way of the problems we want to solve. So, this may be a platform or a thing if you win to be able to work on some stuff without having to solve the problems, most of the problems you don't want to solve. It looks like they run on Raspberry Pis, near as I can tell from when I was looking at the hardware. And so, well, with the price of Raspberry Pis these days, depending on what Pi is in there, that's winning right there if you get a Raspberry Pi. So that looked pretty cool. That my AGV is a mechanical wheel robot sort of thing with SLAM on it. That kind of thing is pretty cool. No idea. And they're supposed to give, I think the contest ends the end of August, and September 5th they announce the winner somewhere. So
nice.
There you go. It's nice, easy, simple to enter, and you're probably going to forget about it come September 5th, and you might get a nice surprise when it happens. Who knows?
Cool. Yeah. Nice find.
The other thing that I'm doing, you're looking at BB 3.14159267. I think that's right. Maybe I'm off a little bit.
BB
Pi. Or BB Pi. We finally got a good print because this thing was getting janky prints on my printer. And I started fitting these things into, and this slot that I put in there is almost too perfect in the fit. Like I can't get this card out of here, this LM398N out of here without probably cutting some of the plastic away, because it just literally, when I finally snapped it, it went snap, and it just it was a good satisfying thing. The other things tend to fit really well as far as snapping in there and doing stuff, and I think that come tomorrow night, I'm going to be grabbing me some generic. By the way, the code they had up there for this thing on the Thingiverse site is now gone. So I'm going to go do a little research here in a little bit, and probably a little bit tomorrow on a break or something.
Snap is only a good sound if you're an optimist. If you're a pessimist, it means something went badly wrong.
No, but this stuff it's snapping together really well, and so. But I think after I did a little research on this, where I couldn't find the source code, I believe they were using some generic balance bot code that used all the same parts, uh, as far as the wheels and stuff goes on that, and then we can add some stuff in there for the servos to make the height of the robot go up and down, which is the only thing they're used for. Currently, I don't care about them. I just want it to balance, and then we'll worry about making it go up and down, or if we want to turn it, make it lean one way or the other, or something. I don't know how well that's going to work or not yet.
Hey Harold, do you have a picture of what it's supposed to look like?
Certainly, let me go find it right fast. I've got all the stuff printed, and now I've just got to put it together again. I say again.
VW microbus.
Yeah, have you seen the EV version that they've got rolling around and been touting on occasion?
Yeah.
I would so drive that thing. Alrighty, where do we go? Where do we go? Oh,
You never see any pictures of the interior, though.
I think I've seen one a time or two, but not very often.
Yeah.
There is the artist rendering, pretty much of that thing.
Oh, that's more complicated than I was picturing in my mind.
Yeah, the
Wow.
idea of the servos that are on side of the head get to control the height of the thing a bit. Currently, they're going to remain static because I just want to get it balancing. And you got the ultrasonics. So if somebody puts their hand in front of it, I would like it to back up. And if somebody pushes it forward or backward, I would like it not to fall over. And then whatever else happens after that, I think we're doing good. You know, I think
Mhm.
and then if I can connect, because it is an Arduino, is a Nano, I'm betting I can connect a Bluetooth module into all this as well, and then have it drive it around a little bit. But that's somewhere after the balance thing, the don't fall down thing. You know. And the other thing is because I had to buy, I only really wanted one of these, but I had to buy. It was either I buy one and pay a bunch of money for shipping, or pay the same money for shipping and get three for not much more. And so I had to buy things in like threes of things. So my idea is that when I get this one working and I get some decent code, I'm going to take the other rest of the parts, put them all together in a bag, print out the models for whoever, and then sell them on my eBay channel for bits for what I paid for them or something. I'm not trying to make $1. I'm trying to make something available, and I'm not going into the kit business either. It's just I've got a lot of extra parts that I'm probably not going to use. So, you know, and I think that could be fun. Or if somebody in the club here wants one of these, I'd probably be more than happy to do a little horse trading of some sort. Yeah, not a problem. It did show it moving in this thing. So that's the sum total of movement that it got. But if you were to pause that thing, you would see that it's just a bunch of junk, just a bunch of stuff dropped in the head. And the only thing that's really stable on any of it is the IMU that's in a well at the very bottom, specifically made for that. In this case, you guys look at the top of this, you can see that I've got internal slots and standoffs for screwing down the board. And again, this thing is not coming out. I've got to go, when I go reprint it, I've got to make it a little more tolerant so it'll slide around a little bit. Right now it's in there pretty tight. So little ways to go to make it all work, but it's coming on pretty good. I was on vacation, went to Worlds of Fun in Kansas City. If you're ever up there, go to Worlds of Fun. It's fun, and there's lots of different worlds and that kind of thing. And it's actually a very nice park. Well, I say it's a very nice park for a theme park that is not a Disney or a high-end Six Flags park. So, and that kind of stuff. So I've been a little absent, and my robots have not received all the love and attention they probably deserved in the last few weeks.
It's probably like Disney World without the multifamily fights. I don't know
Oh
if you've
yeah,
seen that.
and I will tell you, the kid meltdowns are not great, but the adult meltdowns, which happen, they're the worst, dude.
Ooh.
They're the
Yeah.
worst. The other thing that you do not do this. Here, let me borrow Mr. Big Head's camera. Whatever you do, do not go to Micro Center. Do not look at the boxes of Ender 3 Pros that are open boxes but marked complete, that are $160 marked complete kind of thing. Do not do that, because this might happen to you. These printers, they just show up, jump in my cart, don't even know. I will tell you, my printer I have, but back over here, the printer I've got that I've had forever and ever. I built that basically home. This is, like I told somebody the other day, this is the first printer I've owned that has a power switch on it. And because everything else I've just kind of built and done. And I pulled this out of the box, and 3.5 hours later, I printed an example print that they had on the SD card that came with it, and I'm printing on stuff now. I've printed a couple, 2 or 3 things off of it. About 10 hours worth of printing so far. Out of 3.5 hours and a little research to make sure I got the Chuck Holloway profiles for Cura, and away it goes. It's printing real nice. I'm fairly happy with that, even though I just told you don't do that. I will tell you on the downside, I say not the downside, on the low side of it, they've got some incomplete ones, a bunch of them. Like they got 25, 30 of these things. Remember that $100 coupon that that Micro Center had? I think that thing is over now, but $100 coupon. So you got all these people getting these 3D printers, going, 3D printers are cool. Let's go get a 3D printer. It's only $99. They sliced up with that box. They open it up. They look at that and they're like, "Oh no, we ain't doing this." And then they send it back. They turn it back. So now it's an open box, right? So that's an open box. They can't sell it for full price. They probably got 25 of various states of open boxes. The lowest one of those is $109. And depending, and you can open up the box to see what's missing out of the components. And at the very least of it, you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 stepper motors, a hot end, a control board for a 3D printer. If you just look at the just parts and had to go source the parts yourself, even the incomplete $109 ones, you're probably getting $120 for the parts. They're pretty much paying you to take it off their hands by about $10, $15. If you're so, inclined.
So do as you say, not as you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. All right. Well, cool. Hey, well, Kansas City or not, that's some progress there, Harold. Nicely done. That robot's taking good form.
Yeah, it is. I think tomorrow night we'll probably be able to. I think I got enough M3 bolts and all that kind of stuff to bolt it all together, and then load. I got to find the software, and I think I'm just going to start with some generic balance bot soft INO, because Arduino stuff that I found some of it online. Basically, it's 2 wheels and a motor and an Arduino and an IMU that everybody uses. I'm going to guess that that's a pretty common bit of code to go find somewhere. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that is. And we'll just start with there and start banging on it and see how we go. What happens.
Nice. All right. Very good.
Great.
All right. So who's next? Who else would like to show or ask something?
So quick update. You remember robot killing dog here? Chases my robot everywhere. Turns out I got myself a Roomba a couple of weeks ago, and he hates the Roomba too, but he's gotten a little bit used to the Roomba. So I have hopes that my robot will survive once it starts rolling around the house, because he's now inured to robots or whatever. So it's a good training tool to get a robot.
Doug, you got to train them to to sit on it, and ride it around.
I'm just trying to get him to stop trying to bite it. He was messing up. I don't know how much you know about Roombas, but the first couple of times you use them, they want to make a map of the house. And so he kept pretending he was a block and he would get in front of it and make it turn when it was trying to map where the obstacles were. And then it permanently thought there was an obstacle there. So I had to make him calm down from that before I could get my map correct. Now he's just, oh, somebody put a chair there temporarily, dog.
Okay. Cool.
So, Errol, when you get that finished printed, then you'll demonstrate it next week.
I don't know if we demonstrate it next week, but I hope to have it all together in a shell.
And I was going to say, there was 2 people in the club that had balancing robots over the years, and I'm trying to think exactly who they were.
Doug Anderson did.
Right.
Yep.
Or
So you
David.
might ask him on Cohen if you have problems with that.
Yeah, I'm optimistically pessimistic here. I hope that it's going to stand up, and I hope that I'll be able to make it, tweak it enough to get it to just stand still and stand up. But then the fact of it actually being more successful than that, I'm totally not ready. We'll see about that. Because, well, I don't have encoders or anything on the wheels, so it's going to be just straight up something. So,
IMU feedback.
Yeah.
yes, just IMU feedback.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what control loops are for. Sample fast enough and just get rid of all, just take out all the errors, right?
yeah, there you go.
Hey, Doug P, I had a question for you. Are you the B&O 055 or 85, whichever one you're using, are you doing like a third, instead of just odometry and a heading, are you also,
Yes, you mean on my rover?
integrating velocity to get,
Well, I haven't done that. I've got a encoder on there, and I do have a. Right now, it's being used to mainly because I was working using the pilot, the autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
The encoder was really just speed control.
Okay.
All right, so like if you got a ditch, it would, and it didn't move, it would try to move. It would, get harder to push hard. But the intent will be to use it as one of the beliefs, or otherwise, if the encoder said you went 15 feet and your GPS said you went 30 feet, that's probably not right. So you might want to figure out which one you want to believe.
So you're actually getting distance out of the.
Oh yeah, I'm getting it. It has a distance because it's
Right.
But in my mind, it's a kind of a guess because when you're going over grass and lumps and bumps and spring bouncing up and down, you're not. I don't think you're getting super accurate. Otherwise, if I put it on my lawn and tell it to go 10 feet, I don't know if it would really go 10 feet. It might go 9 feet, might go 11 feet, might go somewhere in between. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But out there on where there's lumps of grass and areas that don't have any grass in it, and bumps and pits and valleys, I still think, David's made his encoders work really well. So
Yeah.
at least first order, it's going to be a pretty good number.
Yeah, I was thinking odometry would be easier than trying to get, a distance from integrating velocity.
Yeah.
No.
And I don't think we're usually when they integrate velocity, they usually do it at a real high sample rate. And I
Uh-huh.
think that's being done in the BNO 055 already.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never really attempted to get a distance out of a BNO 55. I'm always only just worried about heading.
Uh-huh.
So I really can't tell you beyond
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, when I did that that larger platform, it did really well as far as tracking a heading.
Mhm.
You know, my grass is not fine grass by any means. There's all kinds of stubbles and, you know, things in it and that kind of stuff that would throw, you know, wheels off. But it basically tracked, I wanted it to track, the previous wheel path on one wheel on one side. And, it did that fairly well. So I was kind of encouraged by that, but
Mhm.
I guess you could do that, but I don't know, that may be just another thing of, if you go for any distance, there's going to be some associated error with it. And it's, you know, that versus GPS versus odometry, which one do you pick then? You can't really say one is always going to be the best or,
Right. That's where the Coleman filter comes in.
Mhm.
Is it essentially weighs all of, you have to tell it come on, Doug, what's the word? It's not variance. It's one beyond variance. Covalence?
standard deviation,
No,
variance.
it's like standard deviation, but I want to say it's the covariance. But anyway, the point of it is you would, in the perfect world, you'd set your robot out on the grass and you give it say go 30 feet, and you do that 50 times, and you say, okay, here's the distribution of where 50. So this is my model of performance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that'd be one thing, and then you'd have your scientific model, which would be sort of like, okay, my encoder goes this, it would be 10 feet, and so every time you go, it makes a belief, and then it says, okay, which part of these signals that I have how much do I believe each one?
Uh-huh.
So you get this sort of like, it's kind of a 70% of this guy and 15% of this guy and 15% of this guy, and then it comes up with a number, and that number will be a much better number. All right, and you just do that every time you loop through. So now, like I say, it is kind of complicated, and so I'm not sure I'm going to get there. I may do something very simple like, well, if I'll believe maybe the GPS, except when it varies beyond a certain point with the odometry. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the heading, once you establish a heading, a starting heading
Yeah.
with your IMU, it'll be pretty accurate tracking that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm not sure who I was talking to, but somebody that in the club, one of the things their strategy was when the robot is sitting at the start line, it uses its compass at that point to get an initial direction.
Yeah.
Right. But once it passes that initial direction to the robot, the compass is out of the picture. But in actuality, if you had a Kalman filter, what you'd be doing is it would be just another source of information.
Yeah.
It would fit into I don't know what the word for, they have a name for it, but it's where all the different sensors are in the matrix, all the settings. And then, like I say, you get a belief out of that, and then you get a number that says this guy's got so much of it, this guy's got so much of it. I'm really simplifying this, but the whole intent is you get a better number than if you any of the single numbers. And so if I get that far, that'll be really cool. But like I said, I'd probably be more simplistic about it, at least at first. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys remember Brock.
Yeah.
You probably remember Brock. He's the one that was the first one to beat David. David Anderson always, every time we would go out for Robo Columbus, it was a much simpler test. You had to go 100 yards and touch a cone and stop. That was the thing. There was no 2 cones. There was no 3 cones. And, you know, David or Scott would just blow that away every time. Well, Brock had a robot he called Shaky. And this thing was literally Legos, blue duct tape. And essentially how his worked was he had a GPS to drive him. And it was all coded up on an Android phone. And when he got down to where he was close to the cone, the phone literally flipped up, and then the camera did a cone recognition, you know, did a blob detection on the cone. And he went and he drove to it and stopped. But because at that time, I think Dave, you know, Dave's going to kill me for this, but, you know, Dave probably was thinking, you know, I do this all the time. It's no big deal. And just let it go. And the problem was with Brock's little robot went off like a terror. I mean, it was like bouncing on the ground, you know, and doing all this stuff, getting down there. It was a real concern, you know, whether or not he'd have a robot by the time he got down to the cone. So he got down to the cone. You know, his little robot, his little camera pops up, he hits it, and the top stops. But his time was fantastic. And, you know, that was the first time David came in second. So
harsh realities. David coming in second.
Yeah. So, but Brock never ran again. He wasn't much of a mechanical type person. He was more of a coder. And I mean, like I said, I think we got a picture of it. If you go looking back in the video archives, you can probably find a run picture. His robot was, like I said,
thrown together.
Yeah,
must have been a
it
cool day.
was pretty primitive. You know, I don't even think it would be. I don't even think it was a converted RC car. I don't even think it.
Yeah, I think it was an RC car. That
What do you think
converted.
so? You think okay?
Yeah.
So it might have been a
Yeah,
converted
small
RC
one.
car. Yeah,
It was a small, cheap one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why it went like a bat out of hell, you know.
Well, that's why. Right.
It must have been cool that day. The duct tape and the hot glue held.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think he had what do they call those proto boards on it? You know, with the wires stuck in it. I mean, you know, like that's just a disaster waiting to happen. You know, so.
I don't know. That doesn't strike me much different from those of us, myself included, who take Arduinos and stick the wires into. I mean,
yeah.
That's anything but connectorized, right? I mean,
no, I hear you, but that's why I don't like.
But you're right. The main
putting
thing
a male
was
wire
that
into a female pin.
the main power behind that robot was the phone, though. The fact that he was able to use the phone and all its capabilities of the parts.
Yeah, that was the whole trick. And I've seen other phone-based robots, but that one, Brock did it with
Speaking
style.
of trash, I actually found something else that we all might want to look at. So I'll show you this. So let me fix that. A window. So there's this out there, and it actually looks pretty good. So it talks about GPS and stuff like that. So we all might want to look at this more closely. But it actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, mower. That's kind of cool. It looks a lot like Paul's robot, doesn't it?
So,
But the key is it's very elaborate. So
Go up to the top of the page. What's the
and they talk
title
about
again?
a base rover combination.
Yeah, that's RTK.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, y'all might. I just started to glance at this, and it looks pretty thorough. It's like, wow.
Does he say which modules he uses? Maybe.
Well, there's this. Let's see, build your own, and then they show that here to get, or just think when they have a kit. Okay, I'll click on that. Get no backup. So we'll click there.
Wow, look at that.
Okay.
Did you see that, Ray? They had the RTK GPS in the sky.
So
Looks like he's using
let's
U
do
blocks.
this.
Yeah.
So and then there's Bluetooth. Okay, you have that.
Looks like he's using the higher end antennas, so probably the F9s.
Yeah. Bluetooth modules. Okay. So this wire. Then it sends it, okay, so it does also know how far it's going by autonomy. Okay.
Odometry, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, the Adafruit Grand Central, yeah, it's
Okay. And then RT base. Ah, there. Now we're starting to get into. Okay.
Looks like he's using XB. Maybe.
Okay.
It's interesting that he showed it up. First, he shows one station up in the on the gutter, and then he shows an alternate on the tripod. Kind of what
Yeah.
you were talking
Yeah,
about.
there.
yeah.
I would think that was for the communication radio. The higher you would have it, the longer distance it would be, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you mean for
Otherwise, I was wondering. Paul said he couldn't get a fix. Was that because on the ground? Is that because Paul's radio couldn't get to its GPS?
it's hard to say. I just
No,
thought it would work better,
Not
you
thought
know,
yet.
off the
no, I
ground.
was using an in-trip provider. But I am familiar with it's a little bit familiar with the Ajumma project. And I'm working off of one that's if you will, a competing project by a guy in Germany. But Ajumar made some different design decisions than the open mower project. So Ajumar decided to do all of their own hardware from scratch, including the chassis. Now, Ajumar is still a very small mower. I think it's like a 6 or 8 inch diameter mow path width. So, you know, it's going to take a while to mow American sized lawns. And it's not that cheap. It's sort of like if you look up the price for the kit, you can buy the kit. I think it's around the $1,500 range, which is, you know, understandable considering that they're building all the mechanics from scratch and they've got an RTK GPS in there. The open mower project is really takes a different look at how to do a RTK based mower. They decided to take a off-the-shelf mower and install all of their own electronics, and so throw away the motor drivers and the controller and everything in an off-the-shelf mower. So they selected the cheapest mower that they could find in Europe, which was like 300 euros, and then add in their own RTK and their own motor drivers and so forth. Where their approach differs is they use the stock chassis, but again, it's a small chassis. You can't really tell from this picture, but that's like a 8-inch wide chassis. And the open mower is also about an 8-inch wide chassis. If you look at the grooves in that lower left picture, relative to the size of the bush, you can get a sense for, you know, just really how small the mower is. And so the open mower is comparable in size. These are mowers for small European lawns. And neither is a cheap project, because basically RTK isn't cheap. You know, you're looking at $300 there, assuming you use N-Trip, more if you have to have a local base station. And then you know, if you build, whether you build your own mechanics or you use a Chinese productized mechanics with your own electronics, it's kind of like neither here nor there. But the base mower isn't that cheap anyway. So they're two different approaches to the problem. I'm much more interested in the open mower project because it uses an off-the-shelf mower, which I'm using. I think that using a productized thing that somebody built and tested the heck out of, and it's got all the mechanics professionally built, you know, like real mechanical engineers designed it, and it's not going to like fall apart, is a big advantage in my mind.
Yeah, it sounds like solid thinking. Yeah, plus I guess you could it'd be easier to vary. For example, I would say in the United States you could probably adapt it to one of the normal size electro mowers that we have here.
Right. So just sharing the open mower, since John launched us on this hack. Are y'all seeing the video here? Seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get rid of the ads.
Yeah, I saw the video earlier. It's very impressive.
So again, just looking at the size of the mower relative to the size of tree trunks and paving stones, you can see an 8-inch mower is small. It'll take a while to do a big lawn, but let's see here. Get through to the interesting stuff. Here we go. So he's ripped out all the guts and put in his own RTK antenna, his own motor driver boards. He's using the stock motor, but the motor, this motor and the wheel drive motors are, what's the word? What's the word?
Brushless.
Brushless, yeah, they're brushless DC motors. So these are brushless DC motor drivers, the 3 of them here, one for the motor and two for the wheels. And then he's got I believe an RPI and then a stock RTK board on here somewhere. And so anyway, this is an alternate way of doing what John just showed us. He's using a Pico as a low level. And then I do simple. So anyway, I won't bore you with more of that than you need to see, but that's just an alternate take on mowers, autonomous mowers.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of those projects also, thanks. Yeah.
What's
I
the
think
pattern
Raj
in your RoboMows?
Raj is tempting us by showing us pictures of his robot laying on his back.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a gold star today. So
Okay.
Do it.
Yeah. All right. So let me flip the. Okay, so that's the rock crawler that I ripped apart and put in my own circuits there.
Yeah.
And I have a ESP8255 there, connected to the circuit driver, and I have a lead acid battery there, small one. And this is the interface I'm still working on, but I got this to work. So this web server is hosted on the ESP8266, and I can control this steering by changing the slider, if you see.
Is it just controlling the front steering, or is it also doing the back steering? I can't see.
Yes, it's also doing the back steering, and I have that working on this slider.
Oh, I see. So you have 2 sliders.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Still not very intuitive. It's going to run off if I try to control. I just got this to work, and let me do a turn here. And this is the slider for forward, backward. So
Yay, gold star! Yay!
You got one.
And going backward. Yep. So that was my demo for today.
Where's David to wave the gold star for Raj?
Not here tonight, I guess.
A web browser controller hosted on 8266. Very nice.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's gonna be for the Robo Columbus.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Right.
question. Yep. So there's still a lot of work to do, but that's gonna be the low-level controller. And if it works well, I'm gonna keep this. Otherwise, I'm gonna try and get another controller to control like what Carl is doing with. Is that PS2 controllers, Carl, that he used?
You know what? I use, yes, the
Yeah.
PS2.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna see how this web interface thing works. Right now, it's not very smooth, but if it works well, I'm gonna use this. Otherwise, I'll switch out to something like that.
My guess is that you'll find the web interface has, for manual driving, my guess is that you'll find it, unless you do something funky with sockets or something from the, my guess is that you'll find an unacceptable delay if your robot has any kind of speed for steering and throttle. but for setting mode switches and the like, all day long, no problem.
Right.
And that's what's nice about the PS2 that I found is that, I mean, it's a direct RF link, right? So it's, there's very little delay, if any. Well, there's the 20 millisecond loop or whatever it takes to read it out and feed it in. So maybe it's a tenth of a second, or it's going to be less, but I'd just be shocked if you could get that with the browser. But Gold Star, that looks good.
Great.
A moving robot over the summer too. That's like double points, right? The rest of us, Disney World and sailing around the planet and flying off to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's good.
Cool.
All right. What else do we have?
Oh, I did run into something about the Arduino. I don't want to call the IDE. It's not that. It's the or the environment, but the Arduino code. They've changed one of their recommendations for attach interrupt. Okay, they're actually. Let's see if I've got that page up. They call it now something like digital. Let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna take.
I guess attach interrupt was too clear on what that meant, you know. So.
No, I think what it is things have gotten more complicated as they've moved away from AVRs to more capable chips. You know, most of the ARM chips now can do any pin can be an interrupt.
Yep.
So the new form, so they've got something now that they call digital pin to interrupt. So in the old days, if you were just using an Arduino, you would say something like, let's see, they had the form here. Give me a second. Okay, you would say something like this. Attach, interrupt, you would go with a pin. You wouldn't go a pin, you'd go to interrupt and the ISR and the mode. And that's not recommended. That'll still work for things like Unos and Megas. But if you're moving to things that are either ARM based or some other base, what they're recommending now is this form. So you have a function called digital pin to interrupt and then pin, and then ISR and mode. Now, if you had, in the way it used to be, this would be for all like Uno and Mega, and for the things like the Do and the SAMD boards, you would have the pin, and I should say the Teensy too. You would put the pin, the ISR, and the mode. So now they go with this digital pin to interrupt pin. And this is the recommended syntax now.
Yeah, so that interrupt service call there, actually takes a parameter, so that thing can say, and so you could have one of those things and say if I'm pin 1, do something, if I'm pin 27, I'm doing something. Allows you to switch that inside the deal, so you don't have like 27 of those interrupt calls like that attaches.
Yeah. I'm just saying, this was something I wasn't aware of. You know, for Megas, I always did this because I would use the interrupt, which would be the external interrupt, I believe they call it. External interrupt, which would be one of the 6 interrupt sets are on the Mega. You know, these 2, 3, 21, 20, 19, and 18. But So from now on, I'm going to start using this mode because I'm also moving away from the Mega to other boards. So the people that are using the ESP32s, this would probably be the way you'd want to go to.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, I just thought I came across this and was like, I didn't know that. So I'm sharing it with you guys.
Thank you.
Very cool. All right. So what else? What else do we have going on? A quiet night.
Hold on.
You got a gold star though.
We did.
Yeah.
So that's good. Been a while.
And there was a couple almost gold stars. We're getting close. There's
Yeah.
Well, might be time to call it.
Yep. I think
seems
so.
like it could be. All right, guys.
Good seeing you guys again after so long. See you next week.
Good to
All
see
right.
you. May your robots replicate themselves and your
Hey,
and your
Paul,
modules
Paul,
plug
you
in
need to
just
put
work.
those guys in different boxes.
I just started watching the Westworld series. You know, it's been out for a few years, and yeah, robots replicating themselves. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, man.
That's another
Take care,
contest
guys.
entirely. Good night, guys. Take care now.